I think that he's telling people what they want to hear. I don't think there's any evidence to support that gas prices are going to come down. The cost of everything has increased over the last few months specifically, and it is very frustrating when I'm struggling to put food on the table.
I can't believe he's just being as arrogant as he is and not working on solving the issue. The issue is war. We're not supposed to be in wars. He promised us no new wars, bottom line. Here we are. I'm hoping he changes his tune, otherwise I may really reconsider.
Brand new reporting from the New York Times bolsters what you just heard there from Trump's own voters and shows the depths of frustration Trump's most loyal supporters are feeling in the wake of what they just described, their rising prices and the war with Iran. From that reporting, quote, as the war in Iran extends into its 7th week and a truce feels increasingly shaky, many Americans expressed bewilderment about a conflict that came with little warning. A new poll from Pew shows 45% of independent voters who lean Republican say they disapprove of how Trump is handling the war. That could be a sign of trouble for Trump and Republicans in this year's midterms. We're back with Mara, Tim, and Mark. I take your point about it being disconcerting that Trump isn't responsive to polls. He is still responsive to markets. Yep. He does seem responsive to outrage inside his own coalition. He came out with this absolute BS story about how he meant to post an AI-generated image of himself as a physician, not Jesus, which is personally, in my personal opinion, just as, if not more insane than posting a picture of oneself as Jesus. But the things that do still get under his skin are evidenced by the all-nighters he pulls, posting on social media.
Completely. And the Epstein situation, the Epstein files are another example of something that he's clearly afraid of. And so he doesn't want his base to collapse. There's no question about that. At the same time, I think that one of the things we have to consider is just how isolated the president is. Mm-hmm. And I've been thinking about that in recent days. This isn't a phenomenon only with Donald Trump, only with Republicans or Democrats. Oftentimes when people get into power, when they're in power for a long time, when they have personal wealth, they are completely disconnected from the everyday, ordinary lives of real people and of Americans. And I think that is part of the disconnect. He's also surrounded by donors and by other billionaires. He's thinking about his White House ballroom. And I think the spectacle of that compared with, you just saw voters who are trying to put food on the table and are struggling to fill up their cars with gas. That is something that has hit in a visceral way. Yeah. And I think this is also on the heels of the United States and its role in Gaza as well. And that is something that really angered independents, too. So this is something Americans don't want to see. And even whatever their views, how hawkish they are or not, their views on Iran, on Israel, Americans are thinking, there's no money in my pocket to pay for basics, for food, for housing. Why are our tax dollars going to wars we don't want to be in? And that is really what's coming home to roost for him in a way I don't think he anticipated, because he's surrounded by rich people.
Yeah, I mean, Tim, I thought this was the case before the war started. It sort of manifested in the way he talks about how hot people tell him the country is. Like, the only people saying that to him are the people he sees in the buffet line at Mar-a-Lago. Like, those are the only people saying that. And I think this idea of sort of political isolation is where he feels comfortable trotting out his ugly plans for the new ballroom. But it gets me back to people that should be responsive to customers and people making decisions. I mean, the boycott movements, every time you open the paper, there is a new boycott movement. People are starting to feel this, and I sort of align with your rosier sense of it. They are starting to rediscover their agency.
Yeah, they are. I think the two things are, like, Trump's always deeply cared about elite opinion and recognition. That was one of the many great frauds of Trump, pretending like he cared about regular people. He always, wanted more credit from the elites, even going back to before his time running for office. And I think maybe that's exacerbated now. I don't know if that's, because death comes for all of us. And, as you get older, you want that recognition even more, or whether it's related to him not having normal people around him anymore. It could be a bunch of things. But like that, I think it's increasingly true now. And yeah, it's right. He wants the approval of the rich donors and businessmen around him. He wants the approval of the other heads of state. You know, he's got Bibi and MBS in his ear telling him that he can save the whole Middle East. He'll go down in history. You know, people raise statues to him. And I think that obviously he cares about that more than he cares about the guy at the gas pump, complaining about the gas pump. And that's a massive political mistake for him and his movement. It was one of the things we didn't mention about Orban earlier, is that the economy in Hungary was awful, which is why it's kind of crazy to have Hungary as a model to begin with. And it's only going to get worse. Like, all this stuff is only going to expand. You think gas prices are high now? Wait till August.